Ladies and gentlemen, most people think the world is worse than it actually is, but that's because they're not using the most powerful tool they have, their brain. Today, I want to show you that there is nothing, absolutely nothing, in this world that you cannot achieve. Not if you learn to see reality clearly, not if you trust your ability to think, to learn, and to solve problems. It's not about where you were born. It's not about luck. It's about facts, mindset, and action. And above all, it's about realizing that the limits you think exist often don't. Let's break through the myths. Let's upgrade how we think. And let's begin with the most important truth of all. Your brain is your greatest resource, and it's capable of anything. Your brain is your most powerful tool. Train it, trust it, and use it. This truth is so simple that many overlook it entirely. From the moment you wake up in the morning to the second you fall asleep, your brain is running a universe of calculations, predictions, decisions, and reactions. It processes an overwhelming amount of information, helps you make sense of the world, and enables you to learn, adapt, and grow. Yet very few people are taught how to actually train their mind, how to believe in its abilities, and how to put it to use in the service of their goals. Instead, we are often trained to memorize, to follow, and to conform, to doubt ourselves, and to assume that only a few special people can achieve great things. This is a mistake that holds back millions. Training the brain doesn't require expensive degrees or fancy equipment. It starts with awareness, being aware of what you think, how you think, and why you think the way you do. Are you repeating beliefs handed to you by others? Are you assuming limitations that no longer exist? Every great achievement in human history, from building bridges to curing diseases, began in the mind of someone who believed in their brain's ability to figure things out. They weren't always the smartest or most talented, but they were willing to challenge themselves. They were willing to keep learning even after failing. They treated their mind like a muscle, knowing it grows stronger with use and effort. One of the most empowering discoveries of neuroscience is that the brain is not fixed. It is changeable. Through effort and intention, you can rewire your thinking. You can teach your mind to be more focused, more curious, more creative. You can build resilience and confidence through repetition. And this isn't just theory, this is fact. The science of neuroplasticity proves it. The more you practice a skill, the stronger the connections in your brain become. Whether it's learning a new language, mastering a craft, or solving a complex problem, the brain is built for growth. But that growth depends on how often and how wisely you use it. Trusting your brain doesn't mean having all the answers. It means believing in your ability to find them. It means understanding that intelligence is not about knowing everything, but about knowing how to learn. It's about staying calm in chaos because you trust your ability to think your way through it. People often underestimate what they can do simply because they have not given themselves permission to try. They think success is for others, for the gifted. But the truth is that every extraordinary person was once ordinary, until they started using their mind differently. We live in a world overflowing with information, but what we need is more wisdom. And wisdom comes from reflection, from questioning what you hear, from looking at facts instead of feelings. This is the kind of mental discipline Hans Rosling spent his life promoting. He didn't just want people to learn statistics. He wanted them to understand reality more clearly so they could make better decisions. And that's what happens when you train your brain. You move from reacting to thinking, from guessing to knowing, from fear to understanding. Using your brain means using your time and attention wisely. Instead of scrolling endlessly or drowning in noise, it means choosing what you feed your mind with. Books, challenges, conversations that stretch your perspective. These are the nutrients of a strong mind. Just like you would never build muscle by sitting still, You won't build mental power by staying passive. You have to engage, to struggle, to fail, and to keep going. And in that process, your brain transforms. What once seemed difficult becomes natural. What once felt impossible begins to feel within reach. Your confidence grows not because everything gets easier, but because you get stronger. Think of your brain like a compass. It can help you navigate the unknown, solve problems no one else has solved, and build a life that reflects your deepest values, but only if you use it, and only if you trust it. Doubt might whisper that you're not smart enough, not lucky enough, not ready, but those are echoes from outdated thinking, not facts. When you begin to see your mind as a tool, not a barrier, you unlock a new level of possibility. You start taking action based on curiosity rather than fear. You start solving problems rather than avoiding them, and you begin to realize that your potential is far greater than you once believed. What limits you is not reality, but outdated thinking and false assumptions. The boundaries we often feel pressing against us are rarely physical or absolute. They are mental constructs shaped by years of conditioning, repeated beliefs, and stories passed down through culture, education, and society. Most people live within invisible fences built from words like "you can't," "that's too risky," people like "you don't succeed," or "this is the way it's always been done." These fences are not made of steel, they are made of thought. And the truth is, they can be broken with awareness and effort. From the earliest stages of life, our minds are fed certain ideas about what is realistic and what is not. These ideas don't always come from facts. They come from opinions, fears, and outdated worldviews. A child might be told to stop dreaming so big. A student might be discouraged from asking too many questions. An employee might be warned not to aim higher than their current role. Over time, these messages sink in, forming a kind of mental ceiling that shapes what a person believes is possible. But these ceilings are artificial. They are based on the limitations of others, not the truth of what the human mind can achieve when it is focused and determined. False assumptions are among the most powerful forces holding people back. Assumptions like "I'm not smart enough," "I don't have the right background," "I'm too old," or "it's too late for me," act like chains around ambition. They feel true only because they've been repeated so many times. But repetition does not make something true. Facts do, and the fact is, human beings have risen from impossible circumstances again and again by questioning those very assumptions. They replaced limiting beliefs with empowering truths, and in doing so, they changed not only their own lives but the lives of many others. The world is changing faster than ever before. Technologies are advancing, borders are shifting, and opportunities are emerging in places no one expected. But if your thinking remains stuck in the past, if you believe only what was taught to previous generations, you will miss out on what is actually possible now. Outdated thinking is dangerous because it filters reality through fear and limitation. It makes you see obstacles where there are none. It makes you stop before you even start. It convinces you that failure is final, when in fact it's often the beginning of transformation. Every great innovator, leader, or thinker has faced resistance, not just from the world, but from within themselves. That inner voice of doubt, rooted in old thinking, is always the first battle. But when you begin to recognize that voice as a relic of the past, not a reflection of your future, everything changes. You stop obeying it. You begin to challenge your thoughts instead of automatically believing them. And as your perspective expands, so does your potential. One of the key principles of growth is mental flexibility, the ability to see the same situation from a new angle, to ask "what if?" and to imagine better alternatives. False assumptions collapse when exposed to new information. This is why learning matters. This is why curiosity is a form of power. The more you learn, the less you fear. The more perspectives you absorb, the less trapped you feel by your current circumstances. Knowledge liberates. It replaces myths with evidence, guesswork with insight, and fear with strategy. Even in difficult environments, those who succeed are not always the strongest or the fastest. They are the ones who refuse to be boxed in by other people's expectations. They choose to believe that a different outcome is possible. They are willing to try again even after failing. They surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking, not just comfort it. And most of all, they stay open to change, open to feedback, open to new ways of thinking that can take them where old patterns never could. You are not limited by your background, your past, or your current situation. You are limited only by the beliefs you hold about what those things mean, and beliefs can be changed, thoughts can be upgraded, perspective can be expanded. The more you train yourself to question assumptions and look beyond the surface, the more clearly you will see that the world is not closed off. It is full of doors waiting to be opened, but they can't be opened with old keys. They require new thinking, a fresh approach, and the courage to let go of ideas that no longer serve you. Progress happens when data replaces doubt and action replaces fear. Many people feel stuck in life not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they are overwhelmed by uncertainty. They don't know what's true, what's possible, or what steps to take, so they hesitate. They wait for clarity, for a sign, for permission, but clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from learning. It comes from gathering real information, from observing patterns, from asking better questions and challenging assumptions. When you replace vague feelings of doubt with solid facts, your confidence grows and your path becomes clearer. Doubt thrives in the absence of knowledge. It feeds on ignorance, on misinformation, on assumptions passed from one person to another without investigation. You might doubt your ability to succeed simply because you've never looked into how people like you have done it before. You might fear taking a risk because you don't know what's actually at stake. But once you begin to search for data, real examples, case studies, hard evidence, you start to understand that the world is not as closed off as it seems. The numbers often tell a story that your fears refuse to acknowledge, and that story is usually more hopeful, more full of possibility than you expect. Hans Rosling spent much of his life showing the world that its assumptions were wrong. He used data to prove that global poverty was decreasing, that child mortality was falling, that education was rising. Most people believed the world was getting worse because they hadn't seen the data. And in the same way, people believe they're stuck in life or that success is out of reach because they haven't seen the data of their own potential. They haven't done the research. They haven't examined the actual possibilities. They've let fear build a false narrative, one that falls apart the moment it's tested against facts. When doubt is replaced by data, action becomes easier. You move from uncertainty to strategy. You stop guessing and start testing. You stop worrying and start doing. The smallest bit of action, grounded in knowledge, creates momentum, and momentum builds belief. One step leads to another. You discover that results don't come all at once. They come gradually as you continue to move forward, evaluate, adjust, and improve. Every action you take, however small, chips away at fear. It builds experience. It sharpens your judgment. You no longer feel powerless because you're doing something, and that alone shifts your identity. Fear is not the enemy. It's a signal. It's your brain alerting you to the unknown. But the unknown becomes less scary the more familiar it becomes. That's why action is the antidote. Every time you try something new, you learn something new. You gather feedback, you gain clarity, the world becomes less mysterious and more navigable, and over time, what once scared you becomes routine. What once felt impossible becomes part of your daily life. Action transforms you, not just your results. Progress is not about perfection, it's about movement. It's about continuing to move forward even when you don't have all the answers. It's about being willing to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to try again. The fear of failure stops more people than failure itself, but data shows that failure is almost always temporary and often essential. It teaches you what doesn't work so you can discover what does. It builds resilience. It humbles you, it trains your mind to focus on solutions rather than problems. Most of the limits people believe in are self-imposed. They come from patterns of inaction, from letting fear speak louder than facts. But those patterns can be broken. You can begin today by asking, what do I actually know? What evidence do I have? What am I assuming without proof? And then, what can I do with what I know? What small action can I take that moves me forward, even a little? This mindset of seeking truth and taking action is what drives real progress. It separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. It transforms potential into performance. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start with what you know and take the next step. As you do, doubt will fade, not because it disappears entirely, but because it no longer controls you. You'll realize that confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward in spite of fear, equipped with facts and driven by purpose. The more you rely on data instead of doubt, the more clearly you'll see what's possible. And the more you act in the face of fear, the more fearless you become. The future belongs to those who combine curiosity with critical thinking. In a world that is changing faster than ever before, simply knowing facts is no longer enough. The ability to ask the right questions, to seek out new knowledge, and to challenge assumptions is what separates those who stay stuck from those who move forward. Curiosity is the fuel, and critical thinking is the engine. When these two forces work together, they unlock possibilities that were invisible to the passive observer. Most people accept what they're told, follow routines, and repeat patterns without question. But those who shape the future are the ones who refuse to settle for surface-level answers. They dig deeper, they observe more, and they are never satisfied with just the way things are. Curiosity opens the door to learning. It makes the world fascinating instead of frightening. It keeps your mind alert and your heart open. Children are naturally curious, constantly asking why and how, driven by wonder, but somewhere along the way, that natural drive to explore gets replaced by the pressure to conform. People stop asking questions because they fear looking foolish, or because they've been told that everything worth knowing has already been figured out. But that's never been true. Every major discovery, every breakthrough idea started with a question. Someone looked at what everyone else had accepted and said, "Is that really true? Or is there a better way?" This mindset is not just useful, it's essential. Critical thinking is what gives curiosity its power. It's the discipline of examining ideas, weighing evidence, and making decisions based on reason rather than emotion or tradition. It's what protects us from misinformation, manipulation, and poor judgment. Without critical thinking, curiosity can lead to confusion or distraction, but when guided by logic and clarity, it becomes a powerful force for progress. The most successful individuals are those who not only want to know more, but who know how to think clearly about what they're learning. They don't blindly follow opinions, they investigate. They don't jump to conclusions, they gather facts. They don't fear complexity, they learn to navigate it. In today's information-rich world, the ability to think critically is more valuable than ever. We are constantly surrounded by headlines, opinions, algorithms, and noise. But not everything we hear or read is true. In fact, much of it is designed to trigger emotion, not insight. That's why you must learn to slow down and analyze. Ask, what's the source of this information? What's the motive behind it? What evidence supports it? What's missing from the picture? These questions are not just academic. They are practical tools that help you make better decisions in every area of life, from your career to your relationships to your goals. Combining curiosity and critical thinking creates a mindset of continuous growth. You stop seeing failure as a dead end and start seeing it as a data point. You stop fearing change and start exploring it. You no longer need to be the smartest person in the room because you're always learning, always refining, always upgrading how you see the world. This mindset keeps you agile. It helps you adapt to new environments, connect with diverse people, and solve problems no one else even notices. The future is not about having all the answers, it's about learning faster and thinking better than ever before. This combination also fuels innovation. Every invention, every new solution, every creative leap forward comes from someone who was both curious enough to explore and disciplined enough to test their ideas. They observed a need, questioned the current approach, and dared to try something different. They weren't satisfied with good enough. They were driven by a deeper desire to understand and improve. And because they were willing to think independently, to question everything respectfully but relentlessly, they discovered what others had overlooked. We live in a time of both great complexity and great opportunity. The problems we face are real, but so are the tools we have to solve them. And the most powerful tools are not machines or apps. They are human minds that remain curious and sharp. Minds that seek truth, not comfort. Minds that don't wait for answers but go searching for them. Minds that know how to explore without getting lost and how to analyze without getting stuck. This is the mindset that builds the future. This is the mindset that opens doors where others see only walls. This is what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary thinkers, creators, and leaders. There is no dream too big when you learn to think clearly and act boldly. Every great accomplishment in human history started with an idea that at first looked too ambitious, too unrealistic, or too far ahead of its time. But the people who gave life to those dreams were not superhuman. They were individuals who trained themselves to think beyond fear, to focus their minds, and to take courageous steps forward even when the outcome was uncertain. Thinking clearly doesn't mean having all the answers, and acting boldly doesn't mean never feeling fear. It means learning how to cut through confusion, silence the noise of doubt, and move with purpose toward a goal that matters. Clear thinking begins with clarity of purpose. You must know what you want before you can create a plan to achieve it. Too many people let the world decide their goals for them. They chase what looks popular or safe instead of asking themselves what really excites them, what problem they want to solve, or what legacy they want to leave behind. When you take time to reflect deeply, when you identify the values that truly matter to you, you begin to see your dream more vividly. And with that vision comes power. The power to focus, to prioritize, to remove distractions, and to keep moving even when things get hard. To think clearly also means separating fact from fiction. The mind, when left unchecked, can create all kinds of stories. Stories about what might go wrong. Stories about how others will judge you. Stories that say you're not ready or not worthy. These are not truths. They are just thoughts, and thoughts can be challenged. One of the most powerful habits you can build is the ability to pause and ask, is this thought helping me or holding me back? Is this fear based on evidence or imagination? When you learn to recognize these mental patterns and replace them with more accurate and empowering thoughts, your confidence begins to rise and your path becomes more stable. Acting boldly does not require a loud voice or a dramatic gesture. It means taking action when it's easier to stay still. It means starting the project, making the call, applying for the opportunity, or standing up for an idea even when no one else agrees yet. Bold action is about momentum. It's about doing what you can with what you have, knowing that progress creates clarity. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. But the first step is essential because it changes your identity from someone who is dreaming to someone who is building. Boldness is not about recklessness. It is about calculated risk. It's about studying the terrain, preparing your mind, then taking a leap while others are still hesitating. Fear loses its grip when you face it directly. Most of the fear people carry is about things that never actually happen. But when you act, you gather feedback, you grow, you begin to understand that the biggest danger is not failure, it's regret. The pain of wondering what could have been if you had only tried. When you act boldly, you create possibilities that didn't exist before. You open doors for yourself that others may never see. Clear thinking and bold action work together. One without the other is not enough. If you think clearly but never act, you stay stuck in analysis. If you act boldly without thinking, you waste energy and create chaos. But when your thoughts are aligned with your actions, when your inner vision matches your outer behavior, you become unstoppable. You learn faster, adapt better, and bounce back quicker from setbacks. You develop resilience not by avoiding problems, but by solving them. You build discipline not through pressure, but through purpose. Every dream worth chasing will challenge you. It will test your patience, your discipline, and your willingness to believe in yourself. There will be times when the goal feels distant, when the work feels heavy, and when others doubt your path. That is when clear thinking matters most. That is when bold action becomes your edge. Because while others wait for permission or certainty, you move forward with focus. You don't need to be fearless to succeed. You need to be willing to think beyond the noise, willing to step outside your comfort zone, willing to invest in a future that only you can see. This is how dreams are built, not in a flash of genius or a lucky break, but in moments of quiet decision, clear thought, and consistent, courageous action. When you understand this, no dream feels too far away. No goal feels too big. You begin to see that success is not reserved for a few, it's available to anyone willing to think clearly, act boldly, and never stop moving forward.